What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Paranormal. We had a little bit of a hiatus there for a little bit as we were getting some things together, but we are back, and we decided to revisit a place we went in the wintertime earlier this year, which is Rose Hill Memorial Gardens. Some interesting things happened to us here that night. We got our first actual REM pod interaction. We also got some crazy stuff on the spirit box, and we were kind of in the area that we are right now. So we're going to kind of try to explore this and maybe a little bit, some of the other areas in the cemetery that we noticed going in. So who knows what's in store for us, but we hope to find something really cool. Let's get into it.
All right, so we're at a patch towards the back of the cemetery where last time we were here, we did an Estes method and a couple things popped off. But I don't believe we ever did just a normal spirit box session here. So this time we're gonna hang around this spot, check it out, and see what we pick up. Sound good?
Okay.
Sounds good. Next to us, and you want to talk to us, you have to give us some kind of sign here.
The camera stopped recording.
Huh?
Camera stopped recording for a second. That was weird.
That's weird, because this thing seems like it's messing up too, man.
Are we next to power lines or something? No?
Is something messing with the equipment? That was weird. Is there somebody messing with the stuff?
.com.
We'll try down here a little bit and then see if we get any luck out of that. Ezra, is that your name? If it's not Ezra, can you tell us what your name is? Something coming through, man. It's just there's so much stuff coming through, I can't.
It's a lot, dude.
Yeah, that's why I keep messing with like the sweep rate to see if I can like get it to kind of help it out a little bit.
Am I still talking to Ezra or am I talking to somebody else now?
Definitely said still me. Positive, that's what I just heard, still me. Did you say still me? No. Oh, it's so depressing.
No. Since you got your phone, let's just do an EVP. Like, we'll walk around. Okay. I want to kind of move back here, see if we can jazz up anything. You know what I mean?
Give him the jazz hands.
Give him the spirit fingers. Oh, do you see the pun there? The spirits,
and
ghosts, and spirits and such.
Or maybe there was that's an old one. I've never seen that one.
Clara?
Was it Clara? Clara
yeah.
McBee? McBay? Oh. Is that you talking to us? Died the same year as the Titanic sink. That's kind of cool. That's actually like just a few months apart.
Yeah.
Clara, was that you by chance? Were you talking to us? Could have been Clara. I mean, it's Ezra, Clara. Almost has the same kind of sound to it. I wonder if there is one over here named Ezra. I'm about to check it out. Or if it wasn't Clara and it was Ezra. Ezra, are you with us right now? Can you talk with me? Yeah, so that's why this whole thing must have started back here.
No, it definitely did, because there's still more grooves back in the tree line over there.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Back there.
I forgot about that.
No, but I told you, man, there's something about this particular area.
Yeah,
I feel like something is constantly trying to get our attention.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It does feel that way.
I mean, even the spirit box, dude, was crazy.
You know what's weird is that we were actually right there, where our stuff is at. Last time we were here and it started going off.
Let's get this while we got it. Is your recorder going?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there
you
somebody?
Hear it chirping?
Huh?
You hear it chirping?
Yeah.
That's it, right?
Yeah. Is there somebody here close to us? Can you get closer to that box?
By chance, is whoever is near us, are you the same person that was around us last time we were here? Do you remember us? It seemed like we kind of agitated you. I think one of us might have stepped on your tombstone by accident, and it seemed like everything kind of went off from there. Is that you?
You're close to one right there. Do you remember us? Do you remember who we are? And you're upset that we're here? Well, it's definitely been an interesting night so far. We haven't even been out here that long. We're getting some strange activity on the REM pods. They're chirping, which is something we've never really seen a whole lot of. Usually it just lights up. That usually indicates a temperature change, but honestly, we're working with electronic devices, so who knows what's causing it. We also got a lot of chatter with our first spirit box session. And this is the area that we got the most activity in the last time we were here. This time we got what we believe is the name Ezra. And we're kind of hoping that we can keep kind of coaxing something out of that name, or maybe it'll correct us when we get into this next spirit box session. And we've been recording EVP as well. So I don't know what's going on, but we're going to kind of try to dig into this a little further before we move into some other parts of the other cemetery tonight. So let's get, oh,
Going off?
it's chirping again.
Something likes it. I don't know what.
Keep the camera on it for a second.
Yeah. Let me see if I can get a little bit closer to it.
Ezra, is that you, buddy? Are you getting curious about that box? You can. You can get close to it, man. Like I said before, it's not going to hurt you. I know it probably looks weird. It just lets us know if you're close. We got another one directly across from this one. If you want to get close to that one, if you don't want to get too close to us, I understand. Can you mess with that box again for us? That's crazy, dude.
Yeah,
It's just
something-
that one, too.
Yeah.
That one's not doing it. That we know of. I mean, it's
Yeah.
kind of far away, too, so if it did it, I wouldn't really know.
And that's kind of close to where it was before, wasn't it?
Well, even the EMF. So I've got an EF meter I'll pull out every once in a while, especially if we're getting activity with the REM pods. And earlier, we were kind of further back near that tree line, and there's some power lines about another yard and a half out from that. So the EMF was getting high readings, which, you know, that's normal. So we kind of moved from that and hit the EMF again. In fact, let's show them instead of explaining everything, all right? So yeah, EMF's on. So blue is normal. You know, well, we should be getting some shifts here. So as I turn it, now it's going to make a liar out of me. What is
Yeah.
going on?
Well, remember, right over here is where it seemed to do it a lot more, though.
Right
There
there.
it goes, yep.
So there seems to be a sweet spot, but we can't tell what it is. There's no power lines above us, and that's usually what makes this thing go crazy. But then if you look, I'm going to sweep back. Hey, look at that.
Huh.
It just, so I don't know. I don't know if it's something messing with our equipment or if there's like cables buried here, which there shouldn't be. It's a cemetery.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's another odd thing. So lots of odd things are happening tonight.
Yeah.
Put this
that's
equipment
definitely-
back. So yeah.
definitely, it was active last time, but this is more active than what it was.
Yeah, well, it's just weird stuff, man.
Yeah.
And again, for those of you watching, we're not saying, oh, this is all ghosts, but it's weird.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're out here to capture too, is just the unexplainable. And
All right, so we moved over to a spot kind of close by to where we were just at. It's a little bit further down, kind of like on the side of a hill. Last time we were here, we never investigated this spot. Did an EVP session kind of close by, never picked up anything. But it's kind of an interesting layout. You can see how it kind of all slopes down towards the more congested area. But yeah, we're gonna investigate it, see if maybe we can find out what's been trying to communicate with us, and go from there.
sounds good, man. Yeah, like you said, this is a spot we've never really investigated. We kind of overshot it the last time because it's hard to see with the limited light we have here, but it's kind of hidden.
Yeah.
And right before you get into the main part of the cemetery, which is over here to the right. So yeah, we're really interested to dig in. We've got a a REM pod up there. You can see that little red light. We've got another REM pod down there. Closer to get into the main part of the cemetery, you can see the red light down there. So yeah, let's get into it. Kenneth?
That sounded exactly like it again. Ezra, did you say I'm here? Okay, was it somebody else? Is it not Ezra that said that? Was that somebody else? Weird. Ezra, if you're nearby, can you say here? I got a feeling that it's not the one we were just talking to. Is this somebody else? Okay. I feel like it's not the same one we were talking to. If you're nearby, can you mess with that red box over there? You see that red light? Just kind of get near it and just all you have to do is get next to it and it'll go off.
What the hell was that?
I don't know. Whatever you were, that was creepy. Hi. Was that somebody trying to talk to us? Am I hearing stuff?
Nobody?
Say goodbye. I'm just trying to see if I can hear what it's trying to say. So we're going to go ahead and just walk through here a little bit and ask a few questions.
This is where, for those that can't really tell, so this is where the cemetery bridges from like the old side into the newer side. So we don't really spend a lot of time in the newer side because, as you can see in the background there, we get closer to the street. It's traffic, it's hard to pick up what's being said. So yeah, we're gonna pick up, or Kenny's gonna take care of a little EVP session here, and we're gonna see what we can grab.
That'll work. All right, so if anybody's with us right now, all I need you to do is to get near me or Matt and just speak. And it obviously doesn't have to be very audible. I don't have to hear it. I just need you to speak so I can pick it up through this thing in my hand. And if you want to tell us anything at all, you can tell us your name, you tell us you're buried here, anything about your life. Ezra, if that's your name, we've tried to make contact with you all night. All we're trying to do is just get some kind of communication, get a voice, get answers, and that's it. So after that, we'll leave you alone and we'll move on and be out of here. So I'm going to go ahead and just ask you a couple questions. And if you want to answer it, you can just speak to me. Were you buried in this land? Were you born in Conway, or was it somewhere else? Just trying to see, maybe it messes with one of those boxes.
Yeah. Oh. Something's messing with that one over there.
Are you next to that box over there? You can get next to it. It's like Matt said, all you got to do is just get near it. And all it does is just tell us that you're nearby, and that's all it is. Are we bothering you by being out here? Are you kind of getting just tired of us asking you a bunch of questions?
So we moved back to the original spot we were, just kind of like the other side of what you were seeing with the camera. Just to kind of see, we let things quiet down back here. Again, we're focused on this spot because this seems to be the spot we get the most activity. We've been down in like the newer parts, which is actually kind of further down over that hill. We've been down there the last time and nothing really popped off. So now that we let some peace and quiet kind of reign back over this place, we came back in to stir some stuff up and see what we can pick up. We got a REM pod down there. We also left the REM pod where we just came from, and we got a camera on that to see if anything happens. So we're gonna do one last spirit box session here and see what we can get.
Sounds good.
Can you tell me your name? Ezra, is it you here that's with me, or is there somebody else?
Right now.
And if there is somebody else, could you tell us your name? Or you can get close to that box over there, as usual, just to let us know you're here.
It is interesting how that all stopped all of a sudden.
Yeah,
It is. It just stopped. It's weird.
just quit, man. Yeah, you were getting that weird, like,
Oh,
demonic
yeah,
sounding voice everywhere we went, and it just
it was
stopped.
almost like automatic, and then it just no more. Well, every now and then I'll get like a faint sound of it, but it's hard to tell.
It's cold?
What is it?
It's cold.
You say it's cold? Whoa.
Is it cold where you are?
No. Yes, that was our voice. Is there somebody trying to tell us that it's cold?
All right, everybody, so that's it for Rose Hill Memorial Gardens. Again, interesting investigation like it always is every time we come out here. Well, we've been out here once, but it was cool then and it was cool tonight. Just so many things that happen that we can't explain, which is why we're out here doing what we're doing. And as always, like we say before, we'll get back and we'll go through the footage, and I'm sure we'll find something absolutely amazing. And we'll have more things to go over in the review, like the footage review that we always do. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a good investigation, and I'm looking forward to the next one, man.
Yep.
All right, everybody. This is the recap, for Rose Hill. Yet another great investigation. It's a place we've been to before. We went there, I think it was earlier this year in the wintertime. We went up there for the first time and checked it out and got some really interesting stuff. That time we went, we got a lot of REM pod activity. That was one of the first places we got a lot of REM pod activity. So this time wasn't bad. It was just different. We got strange REM pod activity that we didn't get before. That was kind of like the biggest thing all night long. As you saw in the video, the REM pods just kind of kept chirping, like different spots, not the same spots, but just different spots we would put it in.
Definitely the most active it's ever been.
Yeah, and it was weird because we had to kind of look at what was really happening when we went back to the footage and watched what it was doing. That's not the temperature sensor, that's proximity. So it's like something was like getting right in its, like right on the outskirts of its, field of detection.
It seemed like almost like it was getting close enough to, like I was curious to like observe it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to actually go up and interact too much.
That was that was our biggest takeaway. I think that night was it was just a weird night for electronics. As I showed in the video too, we have an EMF detector, and we use it occasionally. You kind of have to watch where you use it at because this thing will pick up electrical lines, cable lines.
Yeah.
So you figure cemeteries are pretty safe bets. Every once in a while, you have power lines running overhead, like we kind of showed you in Old Gun. We have power lines right over the top of us, but this time that wasn't the case. We didn't have any power lines over us. And again, we were in a cemetery, so the odds of there being a buried cable somewhere was pretty slim to none.
Yeah.
So I
And
don't
think
know.
We even kind of looked around and didn't see anything over there.
So. Yeah, I mean, we looked. It'd be like a junction box because there is an apartment complex fairly close. But none of that was that I can tell was setting it off. It was just that one weird area was just spiking it. But whether or not that was paranormal activity, I couldn't tell you. But it was interesting, based off what the REM pods were doing as well. And again, that happened quite a few times that night in different areas. What was nice about this is, obviously, unless you've been there, there's one like whole quadrant of this cemetery that's like the old portion of the cemetery. And that's kind of where we tried to stick. And there was even some spots that are just kind of like tucked back in the woods this time that we went, where we didn't go last time.
Yeah.
And I think it paid off. I mean, Spirit Box obviously was really cool. I think the biggest takeaways in the Spirit Box is we actually got a name. We actually got a few names, where we catch snippets of things, but we're not exactly sure what they're saying. Herb always comes up no matter where we go.
Yep.
But this time we got Ezra.
Follower.
Yeah.
He's following. He's one of our fans.
Right.
Yeah, no, the Ezra one.
John, as you saw in the video, we got a John that declared himself. It was an interesting name for names. And going back through all the video footage and really listening to what we were getting from the Spirit Box, I mean, we were getting a lot more of that one-on-one conversations. I mean, probably my favorite, as we were just discussing right before we turned the camera on, was at the point where we're asking, who else is out there, and we get, is anybody else out there, and we get a yup and more. And we're in a
Yeah.
cemetery, so it stands to reason, she's referencing
There's
everybody else
more,
in there as
yeah.
well, which was really cool. And yeah, you picked up some EVPs. We didn't include them in the video because
Yeah.
they're very hard to hear, but interesting nonetheless. So I wanted to kind of hit on that.
Yeah,
So.
there was one point, I think it was probably like towards the middle of the night where we were recording them. So right where we started at was kind of the back area of the cemetery on the old section. And we moved up and then kind of like a little bit to the left. So it was really in the middle of the cemetery and got the sound of, it sounds like screaming and a door moving, like a door creaking, and there's nothing out there. There is the apartment complex, but it's a good bit of ways. So it's like not really right next to us. So we just kind of chalked up maybe it's not paranormal, but it was pretty odd just the way it had like this screaming sound in the background, and I don't remember hearing it. Like I don't remember that at all
No,
either.
that one, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, where this clearly identifiable scream came across,
Yeah,
and yes, there is an apartment complex, like I stated before, really close to where we were, but we would have remembered that. I
yeah.
mean, that would have been unmistakable. And
That's even listening to the audio. We never mention it. It's almost like nothing happened. It was pretty odd. Which is one of those things with EVP. Sometimes you get weird stuff like that. And I
yeah,
think we even tried down in the newer area, which last time we went there, we didn't really go into that area. Seems to me like wherever we usually start at, which is towards the back. And I think the first time we went there, maybe we disturbed something because it seemed like every time we go to that area, something starts communicating.
oh
Or,
yeah, man,
not the EVP, but the REM pod started up. Right when we got
right.
over there.
Because
So,
it wasn't immediate. We had been established there, what, probably
oh yeah,
30 minutes, close to an
yeah,
hour
at least
before
an
the REM
hour.
pods
Yep.
really started kicking in. And and what's interesting about this time, and especially this place versus other places we've gone, like we did the REM pod experiment that we typically do, where we'll keep a camera on the REM pod, we'll walk away from that area, uh, just to see if, okay, now that we're gone, will something get close? And that's worked for us.
Yeah.
Here we did that, nothing. This time, though, we had all the REM pods pretty close to where we were, and we were getting attention. So it's a
Yeah.
really weird.
It is. It's definitely the most I've ever seen. And when I went back and watched, we had one point in the same area where we heard the scream. We had recorded the REM pod and walked off, and we were pretty far away because you can hear our voices very faintly. So I know the distance alone, we were pretty far, but it just went off over and over and over. And if you watch it, it's almost like it starts as soon as we leave, and then it stops as soon as we get back over, which makes me think that maybe something waited for us to leave to be able to go over and see what it was. Because we mentioned a lot. If you want to go over and interact with it, all you have to do is get near it, and that's what it seemed like to me.
Yeah. But again, it was like they were hesitant. Like they were getting,
Yeah.
like they were right on the cusp of what that thing could measure. And that's what it just kept, it kept flashing.
Yeah.
Like something's getting close, but and you'll get even stronger like tones and
Yeah.
lights as it gets closer. And it just kind of seemed to hang
Yeah.
out right on the outskirts. But every time,
Yep.
which was cool though. I'm trying to think of what else, there was so much that happened that night. It's hard to kind of like cram it into a really small
Yeah.
amount of time. The EVPs we talked about, which were cool. There's something else that came up, and obviously, we didn't include it in the final like footage video because it was just so questionable.
Hmm.
But it's still cool. So there's a road that kind of intersects this graveyard at one point, or gets really close to the cemetery. And Kenny was out there using his thermal camera, and we had these like flashes of light, hotter.
Oh
You
yeah.
could tell that would come across the screen and then disappear.
Yeah.
Now, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's headlights. Somebody's driving by.
Yeah.
But the more and more I watched the video, you don't hear any car
Yep.
noises.
Yeah.
Like you would have clearly heard a car or like heard the engine or
Yeah.
something, and we don't. And I don't remember I remember pretty closely how many cars came by that night. We were out there
Yeah.
pretty late, so
There
it
really
wasn't a lot of traffic.
lot, no. And I remember there was one audio. It might have been right around that same time, but you could hear. It almost sounds like a car. It's as if somebody had just dropped a car right there and it just drove because it started and went and you never hear it fade away. And I thought that was really odd. it almost just comes out of nowhere, and then you never hear it driving off. So
Mm.
it was kind of weird. I don't know what that was because I don't think it was a car. I don't know exactly what it was, but you could hear it. You know, you'll usually
Yeah.
hear as it starts to get further away, you'll hear the rumbling of it, but it didn't have anything like that. So I don't know what that was. There was definitely a few things that were a little unexplainable, I guess mainly in that area, which would make sense. It's
Yeah.
kind of like the older
Yeah.
area. It's always where we get activity. So
No,
who
it was
knows?
interesting. And
Hmm.
another thing that I remember that night, and obviously you can tell it better than I could because it happened to you. So obviously, those of you who don't know Kenny, he's not a jumpy guy. He doesn't, make up evidence where evidence doesn't exist. It's, that's one of the reasons that, we work well together on these kinds of investigations. But there was one night we were just kind of bullshitting. I was setting up some equipment. He was over there setting up some equipment of your own, and you heard something. And at first, because you asked me if I heard it too,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah.
and you thought it was
Yep.
a frog.
Yeah, yeah.
So talk a little bit more about that. So
That
because that was interesting.
honestly, it sounded like somebody said no, and I can't remember if I ever got it on the audio because I think I went back to see if I could find it because I could never explain what it was. But I was messing with the thermal, and it sounded like a very low voice, maybe like a teenage boy or something, like said no, like that. And I kind of stopped for a second. And I thought I was like, my first thought was a frog, and then I thought I was like, I haven't heard any frogs out here this whole time, and it was really weird because it sounded like it was real close by, and it just said it out of nowhere. But I've never had something like that. There's been like one incident where I thought I heard the REM pod go off at a different cemetery, but I don't know if I've ever heard like a voice just say something, and that's exactly what it sounded like. But I could not make sense of what it was. There was nothing. I never heard a frog the whole night. Yeah, it was really weird, and I went through the audio and never found it.
No,
I have no
I
idea.
checked it as well to see if like your mic picked it up or anything.
Yeah,
And
because I wanted to hear. I
yeah.
was like, maybe the sound. I was like, well, let me go back and listen and see if it was like maybe somebody yelling far away, and I just heard it differently. But it sounded like we're both. I was right here, and you were next to that tree. I remember that, and I heard it to my left, and it just sounded like a no, like that. And I just kind of looked over, and
Yeah, because you immediately were like, "Did you hear that?"
yeah,
And I have no idea what you're
that's the
talking
thing.
about.
That's all you hear on the audio too is me just saying, "Did you just hear that?"
Yeah.
Because I was like, "I know there's not a frog." I was like, "I haven't heard any."
Right.
It was really
It
weird.
was yeah, no, it was
Yeah.
interesting, and I was definitely questioning that to see if for no other reason if that happens
Yeah.
other places we
Exactly.
go
Yeah.
to because it's one of those things that I won't even pay attention to.
Hmm.
I'll be running my damn mouth and not even
That's the thing is I was thinking about it. I was like, I've never heard anything like that. We always hear it on the EVP. We always hear it on the spirit box, obviously, especially going back and listening, you'll pick up on it. But it was almost as if somebody else was standing right with us and just said something out loud for no reason because we weren't
right.
even, I don't think we were even saying anything. And I just heard no. It was really weird.
That's weird, man.
Yeah. And
That's weird.
that's always the area too where that place, we haven't been there a ton of times, but it's always in that area where things seem to be more active. So who knows.
Yeah,
Maybe
no,
it's,
I mean, yeah, but I definitely wanted to bring that up because
yeah,
that was a pretty interesting part of the evening that night.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, something else did also happen with this investigation. It's happened with several other investigations as well, and it's something Kenny and I had talked about before, and it's something I think we're going to pay closer attention to. And by all means, go back through the spirit box stuff. Obviously a lot of our videos are pretty spirit box heavy. It's one of the instruments that we like just because of
Hmm.
the results that we get off of it. And you obviously aren't there for the editing process. We're literally going through like hours of audio trying to really pinpoint what's legit and what's not because you kind of have to tune your ear to okay that's a radio ad or that's this could be a voice. I mean that's
Hmm.
what the theory behind the device is. You can pick up voices that can manipulate the airwaves or
Yep.
manipulate electronics a lot easier, and we've gotten some fairly good results off of it.
Hmm.
But as I was going through it this time, and this is something you and I had talked about before, it's really weird to us when we're asking questions and we get a response that matches the question, but it's clearly the radio.
Yeah.
And how many times can you chalk that up to coincidence? And I was thinking about this a couple nights ago. granted, I know this is all rooted in fiction. How many times have you watched a horror movie where the ghost or the paranormal activity is interacting like through the TV
Yeah.
or the radio, and it's talking
Using
by
something as a
changing
tool.
channels?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not
Yup.
physically talking through the radio, but it's using stations to get
Yeah.
its point across. And I'm like,
I've thought about that because we have had a lot of times where it's
right?
just right on, and it's the timing is what always convinces me because it's not like, we'll ask like, "Are you next to us?" and then it'll say like here like seconds later or whatever. It'll always say it right after. It's almost like it's just the timing and the words are just too
It's
on point.
perfect,
It
man.
is the one in Kingston whenever it said grass because we had just said can you mess with that REM pod over there? It's right there in the grass, and it said grass. And
Right.
this is what it's supposed to be radio stations. If anything, if it's not a spirit, it's a radio station. So the chances are just
Right.
way too
The
great.
odds. It'd be different if it happened every once in a while.
Yeah, but it's
But this
very
happens to
common.
us almost every
Oh yeah,
investigation. And
all the
we
time.
always discount it because we're like, nope, that's the radio.
That's
That
it. We
can't be
usually
anything.
laugh it off.
Right. But this time, as I was going through and editing stuff, I mean, you can even see some of it in the video. There's a section in the video. It's a spirit box session where a voice comes across and says, "Help me." Now that is clearly not the radio. That is something that is like trying to fight its way across the airwaves or force its way through, the electronics in the box. However, the science of that works. That's not the radio. But what happens next is right now, which is clearly the
Yeah.
radio, but I'm not trying to grasp at straws here,
Yeah.
dude, but they're joined almost too perfectly. And
It
again, it would
is.
be different if this was like, oh, this happens once every, couple of times we do
Right.
this. This happens every time.
Single time, multiple times each time we go. Multiple times this will happen.
Yeah.
It's at least 2 or 3 times each time we go out. This timing and the words will be just right on point, and it makes sense. I mean, if you think about some things that people believe you can communicate with, like a Ouija board, it's
Right,
basically
right.
just using the environment to
Yeah.
talk. And it's just most of the time we laugh it off, but there's a lot of times where it's just so perfect. Half of it is us laughing, and the other half is being like, "How the hell is this thing just always doing
Right.
that?"
And it's something I want to pay more attention to. I mean, that's the whole reason
Yeah.
I brought it up. I noticed it a lot with this investigation. Didn't include it all in the video because I was still very much on the fence. But after going back and watching some of our older investigations and going through the footage on those and seeing how many times this lines
Yeah.
up, I think it's something that we need to start looking for
Absolutely,
future investigations and even include it on here. And again, it's always for you at home to decide if it's bullshit or not. We're never going to come right out and be like, nope, that was a ghost. 100%.
yeah.
It's always up for interpretation.
Yes, unless it comes right up to us and says it,
Right.
it's always going to be
Right.
speculation.
I mean, that's the whole point of this is we
Yeah.
gather what we can with the tools that we have, but ultimately you make the choice. But it's definitely something I want to start
Yeah.
looking for and including in
I think
future
to make notes
investigations.
of it would definitely be interesting to keep notes of it and see if maybe there's a correlation between what's being said and then what we say,
Yeah.
and just kind of go from there. I mean, could be something interesting. It just happens so often.
It does way too often.
Yeah.
Way too often. And again, I get that's part of the reason why people hate the spirit box because they're like, oh, you're just misinterpreting the radio. And I
Yeah.
get it. Trust me, I do. And trust me, I was extremely skeptical when we first bought it. I was started using it and I was like, nah,
Yeah.
all right. But you,
Oh, that thing made a full believer out of me.
yeah, I
Uh,
mean,
I-
we've experienced too much for it not to be
Yeah.
a valuable instrument. So,
Yeah, that thing's definitely amazing.
Yeah.
It is. The stuff
Yeah.
that comes across it is just so crazy. There's some of it, it's saying like our names, just the chances of it doing that.
well, and not only
know?
that, but I mean, repeating phrases you've just said back to you.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
I mean, I think the most beautiful, if you can use that term in this, I guess you can, evidence of spirit box that we've ever gotten was at the Saucasta United Methodist Church.
yeah.
And I forgot specifically what you asked.
Oh, was
We're
it
like,
the
did you
little
just
girl?
say, yeah, did you just
Yeah.
say something? Kenny asked that question.
Yeah, I said,
and we immediately got this young woman's voice back that says, I didn't say anything. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't. I mean, there's no way,
Yep.
dude.
I mean, it was so perfect. And then she said that same voice came across a little bit later and said something like "I like you" or something like that.
Right.
It was really weird. That was by far one of the craziest ones I've ever heard. Because at times, we hear this stuff and it happens so often that now we're used to it. And I usually just shrug it off. I'm like, it's the radio. But some of them like that. And then I remember at All Saints, which this is before we started filming and actually doing the channel. And we were there and we were asking it to say our names, which we usually do as like kind of a way to get it to start communicating. And none of us heard this somehow until weeks later when I went back and listened to the audio, and it was screaming my name. And thinking back, even when it happened, I was like, okay, maybe that was something else. Never had that happen again. Not something screaming one of our names through like that. It was just
No.
unbelievable stuff.
No.
That for sure was probably the moment where I was like, okay, there's something with this spirit box. This is definitely not just something that people have set up to be manipulated.
No. I mean, again, countless times. I mean, the
Yeah.
other time that it really rang true for me was when I was out of town. You went on a solo investigation to a cemetery near your house. And I think you were asking, you saw a name on a tombstone, and you were like, hey, is there an Abigail here? And you got a perfectly Abigail, like it was questioning. Abigail?
Yeah.
Right back. I mean, insane. Anyways, I didn't mean to turn this into a 15-minute, lecture on why we love the spirit box, but...
we're vouching for it. That's all we can say. We definitely vouch for it.
All right. So to get us back on track, are there any other like closing thoughts that you had about Rose Hill this go around? Or
I think, whatever that so the rest of the cemetery, and I try not to be like, okay, it's haunted, but we've had places where we go to and we've gone multiple times, and there's always one area that seems to be active. And that area back there for sure just seemed to be something in there. And I don't know if it's because the first time we went, we think we disturbed something, but there's definitely something in that area that's active. But I also don't know if I would say it was all ghosts or if it was haunted. It was a very interesting evening, especially electronics, definitely the most I've ever seen with those REM pods. So something maybe came across and just wanted to communicate with us, or something is in there and didn't want us there. Whatever the case may be, it was definitely, that area was a little more active than I anticipated.
That's my thoughts exactly. Like I said, the first time we went, we were really excited because that was really truly the first time we saw evidence of the REM pods doing their thing. And this time to have that kind of activity again with two different REM pods running simultaneously was really cool. So yeah, there's definitely something to that place. I know, again, we sound like a fucking broken record because there's something to every place we go to, but this place especially, man, there's something very interesting about it. And just like Kenny said, I'm not saying, oh no, it was ghosts or it was spirits, but as always, it was something we can't explain.
Right.
And if we can't explain it, then it's obviously immediately interesting to us.
That's
so,
it. Yep.
But as always, like I literally just stated before, that's your job. You watch the evidence we present to you, you make your own conclusions, and it is what it is, man. But again, we really like Rose Hill, and like every other place we go to, it's a place we'll go back to again. Maybe next year sometime. Who knows? But yeah, great investigation. So that about wraps it up for us here in the recap for Paranormal. And for those of you that support us already, thank you very much. And if you're just watching the show for the first time, please like, follow, and subscribe. And we'll be back in a little while with another episode.
Yep. Sounds good. Right. Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah. Later.
Later.